On today's episode of Notepad Sports Talk, we're going to be talking about our boys of summer and how they've been doing, and that's the Detroit Tigers. Stick around.
Turn that off! It's time for Notepad Sports Talk. Stay tuned as two brothers bring you the latest from your Michigan teams and beyond in hockey, baseball, football, and more. Let's get started. Here are your hosts, JD and Steve.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm one of your hosts, JD.
And I am Steve. And as you heard earlier, this is going to be Detroit Tigers baseball. Just more of a follow-up, really, on how well they've been doing. Talking about some of our young players, the contributions to the team. And I have a ludicrous list that I want to do with my brother, and we'll talk more about that and what that ludicrous list is.
Been a little while
as we get to that, so that we'll talk about that then. But let's talk baseball, right? So,
okay, let's talk baseball.
I'll start out with this. So since the All-Star break, the Tigers are 23 and 18. Okay, that is the 7th most wins and 8th best winning percentage in MLB since the break. Okay. So since the break, we've also had the trade deadline, obviously, right? So the Tigers have made some changes, and they've brought up some young players, and things seem to be hitting. So before you start talking about the players, I do have a question about, if what we're seeing, the vision of Scott Harris and the Tigers, is this like, as the GM, when you see what these young guys have done and how they've drafted, what they've done as far as trades and pulling these people in these certain positions, and are you seeing the vision that Scott Harris laid out? Is it coming to fruition? Is it too soon to say? Is it just looks good kind of thing?
I think it's part of his vision, but not the entire thing.
Okay.
So, and I say that because some of these guys on this roster weren't his guys, right? These aren't guys that he drafted.
Right.
In fact, I don't think any of them technically are.
Well,
so
that's true.
And not only that, the guys that he traded for haven't exactly, necessarily panned out. Now, there's still some time for these guys. Like, I'm not saying crucify the guy or anything for making bad trades, but that right now the only player that this year that he traded for that's on the roster is Trey Sweeney. He had a little bit of defensive struggles the last game. He hasn't really been hitting all that well. Again, time for Trey Sweeney. I'm not saying anything negative about him as far as long-term goes. I think as far as a player goes, I think he could be a pretty decent player in this league. I mean, I don't think he's ever going to be some sort of all-star. I don't think he's going to be hitting, the cover out the ball and that kind of stuff. But I think he could be, I think he could stick around in the league for a long time.
He's a decent contributor to the team.
He's definitely,
he could.
Yeah, I mean, I think he will end up being that. He's not that right now.
Gotcha.
But there's other trades that they made, like Malloy and stuff like that. That's been up and down, things like that. So, anyways, but this team isn't his yet, and that's really hard for a lot of fans to accept, because a lot of times in football, your first draft kind of sets the tone for your team. We saw that with Dan Campbell. His first draft made immediate contributions and helped turn the team around.
Correct.
First year it was still kind of struggling. I remember that they were 0-8 before they got their first win, I think, or something along those lines.
Like that. Yeah.
But nonetheless, this is part of that rebuilding process. It takes a little bit longer in baseball because it takes longer for players to make an impact in the majors.
Yeah.
So,
because it's players that they draft, it could be 5-6 years before they're on the roster.
Especially, for high schooler, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that's not the case here. With Scott Harris, I don't think it will be. I think we're going to see some of his first draft picks, like Max Clark and McGonigal, here in the next 2 years, maybe. I think Max Clark could make the roster in 2 years. But I'm jumping ahead. You're asking about this team right now, and the reason why I said it's partly his vision is because I think there's players on this team that fits what he had in place for his vision.
Okay.
And I think that's, Parker Meadows, I think, is a perfect example of his vision. You got to have a guy that's going to be good on the base pass, a guy that's great, defensively, and a guy that's going to be able to put the bat on the ball, and occasionally knock one out. And I think Parker Meadows fits that mold. Riley Green fits that mold. A guy that's going to be a plus defender in the outfield, left field specifically, not really center. But he's going to be able to put the bat in the ball and occasionally hit one out, which congratulations to him. He's hit his 20th home run yesterday, which is a big, big mark for, really any player, but that's the most he's ever hit in a season. So congratulations to him. So I'd point to those two players first. Kerry Carpenter, as great as what he's been offensively for us, he's not really good defensively, and he's more of a home run hitter, which, that's not something that as an MO in terms of Sky Harris and stuff like that. Right. Same thing with Torkelson. He's not really a great defender, and, right now he's struggling at the plate, but again, he's more of a home run type of hitter. So, ultimately, partly, that's all I can say. There's a couple guys that fit that mold, but it's not his team yet.
Gotcha. I mean, I guess that's kind of the nice thing about the designated hitter is that you can bring in a guy that can, at least is good offensively for you.
Yes, but the problem is right now you got 3 designated hitters on your team. You got Kerry Carpenter, Spencer Torkelson, and Colt Keith.
Yep.
And so,
what are you going to go?
Yeah.
And Torkelson and Keith are young. I'm not exactly sure how old Kerry Carpenter is. I think he's
26.
Old. Yeah. So,
but I don't think Carpenter and Torkelson have a chance to develop into a better defender. I think that out of those 3, Keith probably has a better chance of developing into a better defender.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, I know we talk about the young players, right? There's been a lot of call-ups for the Tigers.
Sure. Yeah.
And some of them, fortunately for us, have seen some immediate success or early success, right? So I'd just like for you to kind of go through your names. I know you got several that you want to talk about. You kind of brought some up, Riley Green, Torkelson, Colt Keith, but Jace Young, right? Like these, and then just what are you seeing? What's been good? What can we expect maybe moving forward?
Well, Parker Meadows, as far as the guys that have been called up, I think Parker Meadows has done the best job. If we're talking about position players, I'm not talking about pitching or anything, but I think Parker Meadows has probably done the best job overall. And we're not gonna I know he made the team, out of training camp or spring training. We just talked football, so I got training camp on the brain. But but since he's been back, since the start of August when he got brought back to the MLB from AAA, he's batting .319, 2 home runs, 4 triples, and 6 doubles. Right, so right now, over the course of a 162-game season, you see that translating to 14 home runs, 28 triples, and 42 doubles. I don't think that's actually going to carry that far. But again, just to give you an idea of what that looks like, that's what that would look like. On top of that, he's also stolen 5 bases, which is, over the course of 162 games is 35. Mm-hmm. So, love that. That is great. Strikeout numbers over the course of 23 games is 17 strikeouts, less than 1 per game. So Parker Meadows has been great. Let me rephrase. I don't want to say great. He's been really, really good offensively. Mm-hmm. For as far as Tigers go, since he's been brought back up, it's great because there's not a lot of offensive, going on with that. But
Because he's a plus defender in the outfield.
That's where I was going exactly, right?
Yep.
Like ultimately his like him in the outfield, and he made like some fantastic catches already, you know.
Yes, he has.
But the him in the outfield, that's where we start seeing you know, like his I don't want to like say it wrong, but like because he has been positive at the plate, but defensively is just where we see a lot of like what he can actually do for you.
Right.
I don't know how to really put it, but like, and you know, and everything likes what he's doing as far as like even the advanced metrics like sabermetrics and stuff like that. Like all of that looks really good defensively for him. So ultimately, he's been the best of the rookies so far.
Because he still has that rookie status, right?
Yes, he does. Did he lose it? How many games he's got? Maybe he lost it. I'm sorry. I think he actually lost it
by the end of the season, at least. Because the number of games that he's played at the MLB from last year into this year, correct? So it would be a total number of MLB games.
So right. And he's got 300 at bats now and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't think he has no more rookie status. But anyways, like he is, but it's still his rookie year. So still call him a rookie because it's his rookie year or whatever. But yeah.
But after the season, that wouldn't be the case.
Correct. Yeah. So he's looking, like I said, really, really well, really, really good. I love what he's been providing. Because those extra base hits, like I know it's only 2 home runs, but 4 triples, that's pretty incredible in 23 games, since he's been back. So,
so
anyways.
When you talk about what his doubles, his triples, and his home runs, how many extra base hits total was that?
12 in 23 games.
Yeah. So every other game, he's getting an extra base hit for you.
Right.
So that's kind of nice, especially when, and he's been our leadoff guy, hadn't he? Or has he been batting?
Well,
I know our lineup changes. So
they get moved, but he has batted leadoff. Yes.
So, but there's a reason. I mean, 12 extra base hits. Right? In 23 games, if you get your leadoff guy on second base already, when a little shot out to right field can score the run coming out of the first inning. Come on.
Right. But it's more than that. It's because of his ability to run the bases too.
Yeah.
Like that. Like right now, he's in the 93rd percentile in sprint speed. And his sprint speed's at 29.2. So. Like he's one of the fastest players running the bases in the Major League Baseball right now. So that's also where he adds value. So if he's, again, batting, if he's batting leadoff and he gets, a double or a triple, great. He's already in scoring position, right? But like you were saying, like he, even on a single, he's still technically in scoring position. If someone hits a gap shot, just because of his ability to run the bases.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So now, aside from that, like a lot of his baseball savant numbers isn't really great. Because again, it's taking it for the entire year. It's not taking it right now for like a segment of the year.
Right.
But they're getting better just because he himself is getting better. And I'm loving what Parker Meadows is doing right now.
Well, he was a guy you liked even at the very beginning of the season.
Right? Oh, yeah.
Him, Green, and Veerling were like, I think, your guys. I mean, it's not like you weren't talking about Kerry Carpenter and you weren't talking about Torkelson, right? But as far as some of the players and some of the names, like those were, Veerling for his ability to play anywhere, like being the utility player and still get and decent offensively.
Well, Parker Meadows, what what intrigued me about Meadows specifically is, again, his fielding, number one. Number two is his ability to run the bases. So him and Vierling are very similar to that. Their ability to field and their ability to run the bases. But Vierling has more versatility than Meadows. Meadows isn't going to be like can't play the infield, right? Where Vierling has the ability to kind of play everywhere.
Right.
But Meadows can play all three outfield positions, no problem at all. It's just that you'd want him in center field if he's playing because it's the most important,
Correct.
outfield position. But at any rate, but yeah, I've loved just the only thing that was going to be in question really was his ability to hit consistently. That was it.
Yeah.
Running the bases, fielding, and yeah, no problems, right?
Yeah.
No problems. So,
so offensively, that's what's got him sit back. That's what got him sit down to the minors.
Right. But since he's been back, like we're saying, he's actually he's done really well.
And because I know in other shows we've talked about, and I mentioned it a few times, that when a hitter is struggling at the majors, sending them to the minors isn't always like it can boost confidence. It's still not major league pitching.
It's still not major league pitching, but if the problem is mechanics or maybe an approach at the plate, like you can help with that. But the problem is just like having difficulty with seeing the ball, identifying pitches, that kind of thing. Like, yeah, it's probably not really going to help much in the minor leagues, because again, it's the gap is so huge between minor league pitching, even AAA and major league. But you also mentioned Matt Vierling. And this is a guy I don't think gets enough credit. And I've always been on the Matt Vierling hype train. He's one of my favorite players to watch.
Not because he looks like our brother-in-law.
No, it's not because of that. It's, ultimately, Matt Vierling is just a great utility guy. Those guys are important. And the problem with most utility guys is that they're almost an automatic out at the plate. They might hit 220, might have an on-base percentage of maybe 300 if you're lucky. Utility defense, they're not that great of hitters normally, but Vierling is different. For the right now for the year, his batting average is 258, and it's climbing. He had a high as 260 just last game, but he went 0 for 3, against Boston yesterday to kind of drop back down to 258. It's been as high as, like I said, 260. And it's been as low, I think it's since 248 or something along those lines. 244. I mean, earlier in the season, of course, it was higher when, you didn't have as many games played, it was 280s, 287, 289, etc. But just recently, right? Anyway, but over the 13, let me rephrase that. Over a 19 game stretch, since earlier in August, he's batting 319 with a 380 on base percentage and 866 ops. His slugging's a 486, but you don't look at Vierling as being a slugger. He's not going to give you a ton of home runs.
Yeah.
Even though this is the best year he's had for home runs at 15, you don't expect this guy to hit a ton of home runs. But having in that time period of 19 games, having 6 doubles, that's kind of what you expect from him. But more so, in 18 games, he only has 9 strikeouts. The guy is consistently putting wood on the ball consistently,
right?
And that's kind of what you're hoping for. You want them to field. You want to make the defenders field the ball, make them make a play,
or make a mistake.
Right, exactly, because that's that's ultimately what could happen. If you put the ball in play, and then just comparative, right? Matt Vierling's sprint speed did drop some. He was a bit faster in previous years, but he's still in the 89th percentile at 28.8 feet per second. But his base running value is at a 96 according to Baseball Savant, right? Okay. Which is really, really high. His whiff percentage, chase rate, squared percentage is all really high. And Matt Vierling is that type of guy that you want kind of leading off, because I think one of the baseball broadcasters mentioned that he sees the most pitches out of any Tiger because he doesn't chase.
Yep.
And he'll fall some pitches off, stuff like that, and he works the count. So yeah, like that's the type of player that you kind of want in there. And he's been batting, third the last few games for a reason. I mean, not that I want him third necessarily, but that's
right.
But he's doing it for a reason. He's been hot.
Yeah. All right.
But some players that are struggling, like Chase Young, I mean, obviously he's struggling right now, but I got confidence in him. I think he'll pull. He'll come around. I do believe that. It's just that he's in the last 4 games. I think he's had 3 of those 4 games. He hasn't had a hit.
Yeah.
So.
I think it's the same thing. Like Colt Keith struggled, right? Like initially,
Keith has struggled.
and then he
figured it out.
Yeah, he figured it out. So,
but speaking of Colt Keith, as you brought him up, excuse me, he's been struggling as of late too, right? And I don't obviously I don't like to see that. Like that's not like in the last 5 games he hasn't had a hit. The dude's like 0 for 15 or something, like 0 for 17 or whatever it is in the last 5 games. Like I don't know what it is, but his even him swinging the bat doesn't look like it did earlier. I don't know if maybe there's some sort of like a weird back strain or something, but he just doesn't look the same.
Right. Okay.
But these young guys, right? They called them up, and they're the ones that's responsible because they have in the last 8 series played, the Tigers played against teams, and those are some pretty decent teams like Boston, the Yankees, etc.
Yep.
In the last 8 series, they've won 6 of those 8 series.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty impressive for a team that's so young.
Correct.
And we're talking a lot about position players, but we're not really talking about like the pitchers too. Starting pitchers have done pretty decent to keep us in the games.
Right.
Obviously, Skubal, and there's no doubt about that. But it obviously goes beyond him too, though.
Well, absolutely right. So, and I keep looking at when Skubal's not pitching, who's the pitcher on the mound, right? I know they made before the Red Sox series, they brought back up Casey Mize.
Yeah.
And so he's had some opportunity to get some pitching back in, because we thought when he went on the 60-day IL, we thought he was done for the year.
Right.
And there was a lot of stuff in the news about Casey Mize, and I think he was a little frustrated about being put on the 60-day IL as well, ending his season.
Yeah. I mean, look, right now, the problem is the Tigers don't have a lot of starters, honestly. I mean, you had Kenta Maeda, you thought, you signed him, and you thought that he was going to be able to, start and eat out some innings for you, and he just has not been good.
Yeah.
Obviously, you trade away Flaherty, which I agree with, but I'm just making a point that, that there goes one of your good starters. Reese Olson, your other starter, because you had the big 3 between Skubal, Flaherty, and Olson. When you trade away Flaherty, now Olson was put on the IL, so you still got him there. He hasn't been back yet. Yeah. So even when you called up Mize, like you pretty much have Skubal, Mize, Kiter Montero, and then you have like Bo Brisk or somebody like starting a game. They did call a pitcher, Vanasco, up, so we'll see what he'll do for us. Right. Look, he was a 15th round selection from the Rangers, right? Like it's not like it's going to be anything like amazing. I wouldn't expect that, but they did call him up. He is 25 years old. And anytime you get, someone making their debut, it's always cool just to see that, because, I mean, anybody that's ever played any baseball, just as I always dreamed about that. So it's cool to watch anybody be able to make their debut.
Their debut, yep. So yeah, it's the youth on this team. You got to think. I was gonna say they're trying to gel at the major league level, but they've had a lot of time together coming up through the minors.
Not all of them, though.
No,
a lot of them's been like some have come up at the same time, right? Like Torkelson and Green, they kind of came up at the same time.
Yeah.
Matt Manning, Mize, Scooble, they all came up at the same time. And they actually had a lot of work with Dylan Dingler too. Technically, they kind of came up with him. But a lot of times, they just kind of miss each other because there's so many levels of baseball. from rookie league to A, high A, double A, triple A. Sometimes they just don't get they might play with each other, like a few games in each level or whatever. But so they're familiar, but they don't.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
None of that, not as much as I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because you sit there and you think, because it's still a team sport, and you got to be a cohesive unit, right? And you have to learn, the ins and outs of playing with these other guys, and especially on the fielding side, right? Who's gonna be at the bag, how they throw the ball, where it's gonna be, trying to make those anticipatory types of moves, right?
Right.
So that's why I was like, it just seems like they seem to be doing a lot better job that way than what I was expecting. I thought that's why I was thinking that they've had more time in the minors together.
You just kind of teach everything the same. It's not football, right? Where you have to make decisions on the fly. Oh my God, we expect him to do this blitz, but it's actually a stunt, and now my guy's over here now. And you have to kind of adapt to what they're doing, and so you kind of need that. In baseball, everything's pre-planned. It's okay, the ball's hit in this section of the field. Here's my cutoff guy, right? And this guy backs up this position. Everybody has something to do every single play based on where the ball goes. But that's standard throughout all baseball, really.
Okay.
So that's why it's not really, too necessary, I guess.
All right. So I think now might be a good time. We'll take a 60-second break, so I can give you this list. So for those of you who've not heard it, we have not done it in a while. It's called the Ludicrous List. One of us comes up with a topic and provides it to the other brother, and they get 60 seconds to try and name as many as they can. Now,
right.
I feel like I'm giving you a softball question. So it's an underhanded pitch. It's coming in. It's going to be on the inside. I'm just going to let you know.
So now you're going to tell me all this. I'm going to completely fail. And it's even gonna be worse, right?
I know. That's why I'm putting it out there.
Talking about how it's a softball.
I'm told it's a softball question. All right.
Let me. It's been a little while. I gotta play this. Hold on.
Yep.
Make sure. Okay.
It's time for another ludicrous list on No Pad Sports Talk.
So we used to do this a lot now. Right, that's why we have that's why we have it queued up, right?
Yes.
So the question today is the players that are in the 600 home run club.
Oh, okay.
All right. So
all right.
I'm talking about this because we've been talking about Ohtani, we've been talking about Aaron Judge, and what they've been doing. Obviously now they're in different divisions, so now they can both be MVP. When they're having phenomenal seasons, right? So, with that, because I think Judge is at 50, 51. Yeah, he's at 51. Ohtani's sitting at 44 right now. But I thought this was what a good opportunity currently to say, hey, let's just, I'm gonna give it to you. So you get 60 seconds, brother. Let me get my timer up.
I'll play the intro the thing for when you get ready.
Yep. All right, so I got that. And I'm gonna go with get rid of that. Get rid of that. And I'm gonna get rid of that. And I'm gonna go with you get 1 minute. I am ready when you are.
Ludicrous speed! Go!
Right off the bat, Bonds, Aaron, and Ruth, top three. That was
Top
pretty
three,
easy.
Bonds, Aaron's, and Ruth. That's correct.
Yeah, like I said, that's no problem. Other than that, Willie Mays, Alex Rodriguez.
Yep.
Man, it's in my mind. He just retired not too long ago. First base, Pujols. My God, that was bad.
All right.
Yeah,
that's,
Pujols.
That's the top six. That is the top six now. You're looking at 7, 8, and 9.
The kid, Griffey. You got Sosa.
King Griffey. Yep, and Sosa. All right. So that's the 7 and the 9. You're looking for number 8. You got 10 seconds.
9, 8, 7, 6.
All right, who you got? Come on.
Jim Thome. He was the fastest at 600 club besides Babe Ruth. It took me a second. Yeah.
Yep. Right at the end. See, I told you it was a softball.
It was a softball.
But again, it's not when you're on the clock. It's different if I just said, "Hey, you take as much time as you want," right? But when you put somebody on the clock, it's like watching Jeopardy, right? And you're sitting there and you're answering all these questions one after another, and then you go on there and you're like, click.
It's like I was trying to think of Pujols. Like for some reason I blanked on his name.
You had his position. You know? I thought you were gonna give his number. You know. So yeah. That is the ludicrous list, everybody, and it's not often that we get all of them. That one only had
but that was
names.
A softball, though. I mean, 600. That's such an exclusive list.
It's such an exclusive list. That's right. I could have gone like who's the top 10 in the 500 club, and that would have been a much tougher list.
Yeah, been tougher, but I mean, I think if I rattled off enough names, I would get that too. But.
You would have. So, and I have a couple of other baseball ones that I'm going to throw in here, you know, some other shows.
All right. Yeah.
Because I like watching my brother squirm a little bit.
Well, of course, we're brothers.
I know.
But look, you know what I've said this before in a previous video. Like the future's now. Like what we're looking at is going to be the core of the Tigers moving forward, and everybody that comes and joins that core has to have like a spot. You know, so if we're looking at McGonigal and Clark, let's look at those two. That's it. Let's look at those two right now. Of course, Clark is an outfielder. Right now, you got Meadows, Green, and one's empty. Like you don't really have that other. I mean, Kerry Carper's been out there. Like they've had a bunch of different people out there, but like
right field's been kind of a revolving door
because there really isn't. Yeah, I mean, but if you put Max Clark or whatever, however it works, right? Like if Max Clark's a better center fielder, move Meadows over to right, whatever it is, that outfield is set between those three. Like that is an awesome defensive outfield.
Yep.
Okay, we got that. No problem. McGonigal's interesting though, because we got Jace Young at third. Right now, we don't really have a shortstop. I get that. Right? So he could slide in a shortstop if he sticks. Cole Keith at second, and right now Torkelson at first. So that's what it is. So right now there's a position open for him.
Correct.
Okay. We're good. No problems. Right? But what happens if like Hyu Lee gets promoted? Where does he go? Right? Where's his position? Because like he's been pretty good so far this year. He's come down to earth a little bit, but he's still hitting, 298.
Yeah.
And he's found a little bit of power. He's got 12 home runs on the year. That's most power he's had, ever for him. But
he's the guy we got from the Dodgers last year at the trade deadline, right?
Not the Dodgers.
Not the Dodgers.
No. He's the guy we got from Phillies.
Oh, the Phillies. I'm
Where we
sorry.
traded away Lorenzen.
Yep.
But okay, so we got Hayuli. Next is Bryce Rayner, our first round pick this year.
Correct.
He's a shortstop. If McGonigal is on the roster and Rayner comes in, what do? Right? Like now, does Rayner go to short? McGonigal goes to second, but then what do you do with Colt Keith?
Yeah.
Does Colt Keith then go to DH? Well, what about Carpenter or somebody? Right? Like, I mean, this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is a good problem to have. I'm not hating on it at all. Like, this is a great problem to have. This is what we want to see. We want to see the farm system stacked with so much talent. You're trying to figure out where they all play.
Yeah. Does Keith play third base?
Keith has played third base.
That's what I thought. I thought when they called him, I thought he was to play third base and not second. But okay.
Yeah, he has, but I'm not so sure. Yeah, I would have right spot for him.
Okay.
But then but then Carson Rucker. This guy's only 20 years old, still in rookie league. But he's batting 385.
Yeah.
Okay, he's it's time for him to come out of rookie league. But
right.
And then Nestor Miranda.
Yeah.
Nestor Miranda, he's a third baseman by trade, and he's our signee out of Venezuela, our international signee out of Venezuela. Mm-hmm. But again, he's only 18, so we got lots of time for that. But this is what I'm talking about. Is maybe like Miranda, if he is just hits the ground running, is completely awesome. Like, he could be in major leagues by 20 years old. That's why I'm bringing him up, right? Like, if he's a super prospect. And gets in there by 20, like, we have a problem again, as far as like, where does he play? And I'm all for these problems. I'm just saying, like, you have a core, and that core right now is going to be Colt Keith, Riley Green, Parker Meadows, maybe Jace Young if he can turn around his hitting, which I think he will, but we got a wide open hole at short. Keith, he can develop into a better second baseman, but he's not a good second baseman right now. So I don't know, man. Like, I'm just so curious what's going to happen, and I'm just thinking way ahead. But I just think it's really cool to kind of look at these prospects and just dream what the Tigers team could look like when you add in these talented players into the core already, and how everybody's going to have to be moved around, shifted, or possibly traded to make room for people.
Yeah. Well, this has been 40 years since we won a World Series, right? This year marks that 40-year mark.
84, yeah.
Yep. So the 84 Tigers. And I know that the Tigers just did a thing. They had Chet Lemon at the park. Some of the other 84 Tigers.
All the 80, yeah. I think
they had the 84 team.
A huge part of the 84 team, yeah.
Yeah. So it's our time is coming, is what we're trying to say, right? The future is bright with what we have currently on the roster and what is in the farm system.
What I would like to see, and I was hoping Torkelson could be that guy, but I think one thing that's missing on this team right now, and it's and even in the prospects that we have, is we need someone that can hit the ball really, really, really far. Like, that's what we need. We need someone that's like a home run, a legitimate home run threat every time they step to the plate.
Yeah,
that's what we need.
So you're looking for an Aaron Judge, Ohtani type player that can do that for us.
I want someone that can hit 40 home runs a year. That's what I want.
Nice. 40 home runs, that's a big number.
It is a big number. Absolutely. Yeah. But that's what I'm looking for. I was hoping Torque could be that guy, that maybe hits 35, 38, maybe, flirts with 40, but he hasn't proven he can be. But that, that last part of the last season in which, that dude was on that pace he was on was nuts. Yeah. So it gave everybody hope that maybe, that could be the case. But right now, I don't think anybody has that hope anymore. So we'll see. We'll see is all I can say. That's how we can look at. But Lorenzo, I know a lot of people are high on him. I'm still not that high on Lorenzo. I think he's gonna come back down to earth a little bit, but maybe he could be that guy that can knock in that many home runs. I hope so. We gotta have somebody. It's great that we have like these guys that can hit 20 home runs a year. I think that again, Riley Green, I think he's proved that he can. It's pretty close to Matt Vierling. That he'll be close to 20 this year. Maybe he can get 20 next year. I don't know.
Right.
I think Jace Young could be the guy that could hit 20. So we got some guys on there that can hit 20 home runs a year, but we just don't have that guy on there that's just like, I'm not going to pitch this guy. So
yeah, okay.
Oh, one thing I do want to bring up too, I almost forgot before we close out because we're running a little bit long here on this, but the Tigers during that the span we're talking about, which they won 6 of the last 8 series, is yesterday, right? They it was not a good offensive day, but it was effective. They were effective. The hits they had were effective because they only had 5 base runners through 5 innings, but 4 of them scored, and they ended up winning 4-1. Right? Like, now we had 2 home runs between Riley Green and Torkelson, but but that's what we're talking about, right? Like, you have to be able to capitalize on runners you get on base, and if the offense is able to do that, even if they only have a limited number of base runners, if you just get those timely hits, you can win some games, even when you're struggling offensively. And that's what we seen yesterday. Because the pitcher had a perfect game up until he didn't.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, that was just what I wanted to say there too before anything else happened.
You were talking about the runners in scoring position before we came on, like, and how the Tigers that's been a lot better for them over that span.
Well, yes, ultimately, yes, it has. So, but again, I'm excited. I'm glad we got to do a ludicrous list again. That was fun. Yeah. And at any rate, we still got another video we're going to put out with the Lions. We just are putting out a video about Michigan football, so check that one out too if you like Michigan football. And we'll just talk to you the next time we make a video.
Absolutely. Take care, everybody.
Thanks for listening to No Pads Sports Talk. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. While you're at it, help spread the word by leaving a rating and review wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on social media at No Pads Sports Talk.